Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I would like to welcome all the media who joined us on the phone and remind them before we begin to press *1 if you have a question. That's *1 to enter the queue to ask a question. And to start our event today, I will turn it over to Parliamentary Secretary Brenda Bailey. Please go ahead.
I acknowledge with respect the Lekwungen peoples and the Songhees and Esquimalt nations on whose traditional lands I speak from today. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brenda Bailey. I'm the Parliamentary Secretary for Technology and Innovation, and today I am delighted to be part of an announcement that showcases both technology and innovation to benefit a healthier environment and a cleaner BC. We are all well aware of the impact that plastics have on our ocean and our land environments. More than 40% of plastics is used only once. It's wasteful and it's dangerous for our precious habitat. Here in BC, all of us are doing our part to change this. From returning our plastic drink containers to recycling many other plastics to keep them out of our landfill and our waterways. And we're going further by turning used plastics into new products and to meet the dual demand for plastics in manufacturing and the need to reduce plastic waste. Technology is playing an increasing important role in making that happen. Many innovative BC companies are using technology to respond to new economic opportunities created by used plastic. I'm proud that our government is supporting them through the Clean BC Plastic Action Fund. In a few minutes, we will hear from 3 companies that are receiving funding for their important work to recycle plastics into new materials. But first, it's my great pleasure to introduce George Heyman, the Minister of Environment and Climate Change Strategy. Minister.
Thank you so much, Brenda, and thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. I will also acknowledge that I'm joining everyone from the traditional territories of the Esquimalt and Songhees First Nations. I'm extremely pleased today to announce another step toward a cleaner environment and addressing plastic waste in British Columbia. We've been showing leadership in plastic waste reduction as well as recycling. A couple of years ago, we had a massive engagement on our Clean BC Plastics Action Plan in BC. The public was absolutely clear. Everyone is very, very concerned about the staggering amount of plastic waste that we're seeing in today's economy that ends up in our environment, that ends up in our oceans, that fouls the habitat of our wildlife and our sea life. And we know there's better ways to manage how we use plastic and what we do with it after we use it. That's why our government, along with our partners in local government and business, are taking serious action on plastic waste and pollution. The Clean BC Plastics Action Plan has as its goal to prevent plastic waste from polluting our communities, from polluting our shorelines, and from ending up in landfills where it adds to greenhouse gases causing climate change. So we're working with local government to approve their bans on single-use packaging. We're building on our leadership in extended producer responsibility systems that shift the responsibility to producers for the environmental impacts of their products, and we're adding new materials to our recycling regulations, such as mattresses and propane canisters. And we're also supporting our coastal communities and building a cleaner marine environment with yet another comprehensive cleanup of marine plastic debris on our shorelines. Last summer was very successful as part of our stronger BC Economic Recovery Plan, and this year we've doubled the amount of money in our Clean Coast, Clean Waters initiative, and we're going to add $9.5 million in shoreline cleanup activities, putting to work people from Indigenous communities and the tourism industry, while at the same time supporting a cleaner coastline and cleaner communities for our tourism industry. We're encouraging people to use much less plastic overall, but for the plastics we do use, we need to find better ways to deal with it. We know that if we recycle plastic properly, we can not only protect the environment, but we have a valuable resource. We have an economic driver. We have a job creator. So today, as part of the Clean BC Plastics Action Fund, we're going to create new value by turning used plastic into new products and new jobs. This $5 million fund, the announcement today is about grants that we're giving to partner with companies for new innovations, for new technologies, and for new jobs to deal with plastic that we pick up, that we recycle, and that we turn into recycled plastic that can become content for new plastic products. We're meaning to incent and explore opportunities for greater plastics use through our recycling activities. It's part, as I said, of our Stronger BC Economic Recovery Plan. To respond to COVID, we need to not only protect community health, we need to support community livelihoods. And one of the best ways to do that is to support initiatives for a cleaner environment. So today, we're announcing 9 projects that this fund will support. These projects will recycle more than 20,000 tons of plastic per year. There's a variety of activities. They're located in various locations around the province. They're employing women, people from Indigenous communities, youth. They're supporting cooperatives, nonprofits, private businesses, and Indigenous enterprises. We have in the Kootenays, for example, a nonprofit society that will use the funding to process hard-to-recycle plastics like fridge inserts. In Victoria, we have an innovative startup that will upcycle plastic waste into new products like bowls and soup dishes. And in Delta, we have a company that will be upgrading its equipment to provide recycled plastic for new food-grade packaging. I'm pleased that we're joined today by representatives of 3 innovative companies that are among the recipients of the grants taking part in this program. Reclaim Plastics of Burnaby, the Rogerie in Kelowna, and KC Recycling and Trail. Before I turn it back to Parliamentary Secretary Brenda Bailey to introduce the partners so we can hear from them, I'd like to thank everyone who's been involved in the Clean BC Plastics Action Program, the many British Columbians who put forward really innovative and enthusiastic ideas about how we could increase the amount of plastics recycling and recycled manufacturing in British Columbia. We all want to reduce plastic waste. We all want cleaner oceans, and we all want better jobs and better products. Brenda?
Thank you, Minister. It really is exciting to hear how British Columbians are so engaged in reducing and reusing plastics, and how BC companies are rising to this challenge largely through technology and innovation. Now joining us from Burnaby is Al Bofflow, who is a partner with Reclaim Plastics. This company has a particular specialization in recycling plastics, and the Clean BC Plastic Action Fund will allow them to scale their operations. Al, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. I wanted to thank the province of British Columbia and Alacrity for supporting our activities and making BC an even more beautiful place to live. My name is Al Bofflow, and I'm a co-founder of Reclaim Plastics. We are located in Burnaby, BC, and employ 12 people. Our project deals with the problem of automotive plastic waste. It's a relatively unknown fact, but automotive plastics are the second highest contributor to plastic waste after the packaging industry. That's the second highest contributor, and over 80 million pounds of this waste is generated in BC. This waste gets created mainly in 2 ways. First, the automobile collision industry. The latest ICBC stats show that there are over 850 automotive collisions each and every day in the province. Each time there's an accident, it's pretty much a guarantee that plastic parts are getting damaged. Things like bumpers, headlights, grills, fenders are always affected. So plastic parts are replaced, and the old parts have historically always been discarded and enter the landfill. They would get tossed into the commercial bins, sometimes hundreds per shop in a given month, and taken by the haulers to the landfills. So next time you're visiting your neighborhood body shop, check the bin. The other way the waste gets generated is when vehicles reach the end of their life or are written off. There's 3.7 million registered vehicles in BC. The average lifespan of a car is less than 15 years, which means around 200,000 vehicles reach their end of life every year. When vehicles reach their end of life, they typically end up at a metal recycler, who are generally concerned with the extraction of metals and fluids. But each car also contains 400 to 500 pounds of plastic. Those 400 to 500 pounds of plastic end up getting crushed and turned into what's called automotive shredder residue, or ASR. The plastic gets mixed in with glass, fabric, rubber, and sometimes also other unpleasant things like mercury and cadmium, and this ends up going to the landfill. So through auto collisions and end-of-life disposal of cars, there's over 80 million pounds of automotive plastic being generated in BC. That's been the current context and the problem. Our company, Reclaim Plastics, has been on a mission to do something about this and turn this waste or this liability into a renewable resource, indeed, hopefully an asset. Each day, we receive hundreds of automotive plastic parts. We sort this material by polymer, like polypropylene or ABS. We then decontaminate these parts, which means removing any metal pieces, clips, or incompatible plastics. We then sort and recycle this material. It's largely been a manual and laborious effort. We're investing resources in R&D and proving out new technologies to allow us to more efficiently and more precisely sort the plastics. Sorting is actually the key challenge when it comes to hard to recycle black plastics. The great thing is that it's all completely possible to recycle this material, and our company has been successfully doing this since 2018. So the automotive plastic waste can have a new life and be repurposed and remanufactured into things like landscape edging, piping, plastic pallets, or even plastic car parts as part of the circular economy. And slowly there's change being made. I'd like to recognize Metro Vancouver and specifically the Zero Waste Committee for helping implement a hazardous material ban on automotive plastic parts in the landfill. We really hope other municipalities and stakeholders, including the auto insurance industry, also come on board. With the support of the government of British Columbia, along with the active engagement of body shops, auto recyclers, and the auto insurance industry, we are working to significantly increase the volume of automotive plastics diverted from the landfill, create new jobs in the process, and make BC an even better and greener place to live. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Al. That was so interesting, and I'm so pleased to see that automotive plastic is being kept out of landfills, taking a liability and turning it into an asset. Now we go to Kelowna, where Brady and Angela Rogers, the co-founders of The Rogerie, join us to tell us about how this company will be scaling up its micro-recycling facilities. Hi, Brady and Angela.
Hello, thanks for tuning in, everybody. So we're The Rogerie. We started as a farmer's market booth about 2 years ago, and our products are now in stores, over 30 stores across Canada. What we do is 3D print everyday consumer products from 100% recycled Canadian plastic, sourced from BC and even Kelowna specifically as much as we can, essentially as close to home. Our products include kitchen compost bins, self-watering planters, wine glasses, drink coasters, cutlery cases, and we're adding to that lineup every day. Although there's a lot of great initiatives already in existence to really reduce our reliance on plastic, especially single-use plastic, and also to create alternatives, there's still a huge amount of plastic entering the ocean every year, in fact, 250 kilograms a second. So we see a need not only to become more conscious of our plastic use as a society, but also develop a more robust and capable system and infrastructure for managing the plastic we already use and also cleaning up what's out there. So our mission with our company is to bring recycled plastic more into the mainstream, to create a demand and an incentive to help not only our own company, but other companies do what they need to do to recover all that plastic from landfills or the ocean or other waste streams, like small businesses, whatever it may be. So with this grant, although I said we 3D print all of our products, the problem with that is we can only use a few types of plastic. But with this funding, we're going to be able to invest in equipment that will let us use basically any type to make all the same products. So by doing so, we're going to be able to take anything from water bottles to shampoo bottles to car parts, pretty much anything plastic that you can imagine, and make it into consumer products.
Thank you very much for that, Brady. It's wonderful to see that plastic that has been difficult to repurpose is being used to make something new. Now we're going to turn to KC Recycling in Trail, which is known throughout Western Canada and the Pacific Northwest for its leadership in automotive battery recycling. Director of Business Development, Dan DeFilippo, joins us now.
All right, thank you very much for having me, and thank you to the ministry and the fund for the ability to join and participate and grow our business. Just to provide a little bit of background on myself, I'm one of the operating partners of KC Recycling. KC Recycling is the largest battery recycler, as you mentioned, in the Pacific Northwest. So pretty much any lead acid battery coming out of British Columbia comes to our facility where we're currently recycling the products. And as a part of the production process at KC, we generate a polypropylene material. Right now, that product is traveling everywhere but BC. So it's going into single-use products in Washington, Oregon, and even traveling as far as Michigan and Southern Ontario. What we hope to do with the fund is build a new plant so that we can create a post-consumer polypropylene spec material that can go into manufacturing facilities such as the Rogerie and hopefully Reclaim there too as well, and keep the material and manufacturing in BC and create a reusable product that can be used over and over and over again instead of single-use materials that are essentially a one-time use going into the landfill. So we hope that this will also allow and create capacity in the interior of BC for more post-consumer polypropylene to come into our facility where we can reprocess it and create more material. So it's just a circular loop and allowing us to grow and become a better partner to everyone. Also, just wanted to thank our partners in the region, which is Metal Tech Alley. They've been excellent. ClaraWorks Engineering, they've been awesome in helping us get to the level that we are at today. We just started our plant literally as of this afternoon, so thank you very much to the team at KC, and we look forward to a really cool green future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. The work that KC Recycling and our other partners are doing shows the critical importance of technology and innovation in tackling today's challenges, including the critical challenge of creating a healthy environment. My thanks to Dan at KC Recycling, to Brady and Angela at the Rogerie, to Al at Reclaim Plastics for sharing their stories today and reminding us how BC companies are at the forefront of innovation and are helping to improve our lives in so many ways. We're now going to welcome questions from the media, and I invite Rick to facilitate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just a reminder to everyone on the phone, please press *1 if you have a question. That's *1 if you'd like to enter the queue to ask a question of the Minister, the Parliamentary Secretary, or any of our speakers, and you'll be allowed one question and a follow-up. We'll start with Les Lane from the Times-Colonist. Go ahead, Les.
Oh, thank you. Minister, you, through your term as Environment Minister, talked very positively about the carbon tax rebate for municipalities, the climate action revenue incentive thing. What's your view of the Municipal Affairs Minister's decision to wrap it up at the end of this year?
Thanks, Les. The climate action, or the carbon tax rebate incentive program for local government has been around for over a decade, and it was very important to get local governments to sign on to the Climate Action Charter and get used to reporting their emissions. We have almost every local government in British Columbia, I think all but 3 now participating. Local governments are tremendous partners and tremendous leaders in reducing emissions. That's why we instituted the Clean BC Communities Fund to give grants to local governments. In the last 2 years, we've had over $60 million go out to assist with things from heat capture from sewage to landfill capture and a number of other projects. We are now in a wave of the 3rd phase of applications. By contrast, CARIP was about $8.5 million last year. It is continuing for 1 more year, so this is in a sense notice, and my colleague, the Minister of Municipal Affairs, is planning to sit down with local governments, and I expect she'll include me in those consultations about what are the next steps that we can take to continue to support local governments to institute the kinds of programs and infrastructure they need to reduce their emissions. How can we support them in that? How can we continue to move forward in a revised and an augmented and a new program that fits this decade?
Les, do you have a follow-up?
I'm just wondering, this is a secure source for municipal funds once they take the pledge to try and become carbon neutral. Any new program, do you think it's likely to turn into the usual just scramble for whatever grant is available, or will the new program also be secure in terms of guaranteed ongoing funding?
I'm not going to speculate on what the Ministry of Municipal Affairs will come up with, Les, but I know at the end of the year we're going to release our roadmap to 2030 that will outline how we're going to work with industry, with families, with local governments, with Indigenous people, with young people to meet our targets for 2030, for 2040, and for 2050. That's important. We can't do it alone. We need partners, and we need to be able to plan long term. So that is going to help to shape the kinds of programs we put into place. We've dedicated over $2.2 billion to Clean BC activities over the last 5 year, or the 5-year period that takes us to the end of this budget cycle that begins in 21-22. And I expect our commitments will continue. Once we know the pathways that will get us there, we're going to invest in them because we're serious about meeting the targets.
Thanks, Minister. That's all the questions that we have today, and that concludes the event.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. And I think for our friends from the different parts of BC, we're going to take a photo. And I was really interested in listening to your description of the projects. When we first talked about having a pilot project to invite applications for ideas about how we could increase plastics remanufacturing in BC, I thought it was a good idea. The idea of the pilot project was to test it out, and I had no idea